Well, it's nice to see you. I don't think I've seen you in service.
Yep,
Have
been
you
a
just
while.
Is this your first time or second? First or second time here? In
10 years.
Yeah? I wasn't here last week, so I
I
wasn't
was
sure.
going to be here last week, but I got a little bit late and I didn't want to come in late.
A lot of people, well, not a lot, I mean, people come in late all the time, every week. They trickle in. Right? Sensei does call out their name when they show up. Especially back door. Yeah.
Start calling or something.
Hi, Dorothy.
I thought that.
How you been?
Good.
How you been? Reverend Dennis, I have to tell you, so Joan was sitting here a couple of weeks ago, and she says to me, I don't know why, but he kept looking at me during your Dharma message, like, you know, she thought you were singling her out. I said, no, Joan, he's looking at the camera. I'm not looking at you. It made her feel better. You know how she is. I don't know why he's looking at me.
And are we being recorded right now?
Some people need extra help.
Yeah.
Just saying, huh?
Okay, we're ready to begin. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to our Socho Key Bishop's Memorial Service, annual service that we have. Welcome everyone here live and those of you who are watching from home and in Sebastopol and all over the world, wherever you might be. Let's go over our service order for today. We'll have the reading of the three treasures, and then the Raisanmo, three treasures in Japanese. Then I'll take my seat up on the Onaijin for the chanting portion. We'll chant the Sambujo on page 2425, and then the Hyobyakumon will be announced, adorations. And then the main chant will be the Sanbutsuge on page 79. Nembutsu and Ekoku will complete the chanting portion of the service, and I'll come back for our Dharma message. So let's begin with the three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we're living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in a great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we're able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Raisanmon. Ninjin ukegatashi imasudeni uku. Buppo kikigatashi imasudeni kiku. Konomi konjo ni mukatte dosejunba. Sarani izure no shou ni mukatte kaku no mi o dosen. Daishu mono tomo ni shishin ni sambo ni kieshi tatematsuru beshi. Mizukara butsu ni kieshi tatematsuru. Masani negawakuba shijo to tomo ni. Daido taige shite ujoi o okosan. Mizukara ho ni kieshi tatematsuru. Masani negawakuba shijo to tomo ni. Fukaku kyozo ni irite chie umi no gotoku naran. Mizukara so ni kieshi tatematsuru. Masani negawakuba shijo to tomo ni. Daishu o tori shite issai muge naran. Ujo jinjin mimyo no ho wa yakusen man go ni mo ai o kotokatashi. Warema kenmon shijuchi suru koto o etari. Nega wakuba nyorai no shinjitsugi o keshitate matsuran. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Sambujo, Hyobyakumon, Sanbutsuge. Today we have come together to honor the past deceased bishops of the Buddhist churches of America, reflecting upon the contribution which they have made to our lives. We place our hands together in gassho and express our respect, remembering the foundation of the Buddha's teachings, which are the factors unifying us all. We reaffirm our reliance upon the three treasures. Namo Kie Butsu, Namo Kie Ho, Namo Kie So. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Please repeat the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Sanmai Chie Itoku Muryo 諸経有人体全面諸分の会無人人の不合外体無明欲度生存業無人の死死人徳無量不分広大知恵人妙光明一層神道大仙願が差分最小大過度生じ未不下段不正常意解任精進行税三昧知恵以上公正特分不行志願一切具具一切大安決し有分百千六万無量大小修行語者供養一切死と処分不尿具度検証不逆非尿語者処分世界不不影無種鮮度無病死傷変死小国行税精進二次難病病が差分国土第一公衆非妙道場上善国領内容に無闘争加藤愛民東蘭一切実法大小死ね本願の意少々よ一歩生存知恵無下長領子孫知が信領軽量心死諸苦六十家業精進人寿不敬ナマンダ namanda, namanda, namanda. Okay, good morning once again. The Socho Ki is our annual memorial service in memory of all the past bishops who served the BCA and have gone on to the Pure Land. And it's held in grateful memory of their efforts and everyone who has contributed to leading the Buddhist churches of America to what we have today. Sometimes it's very difficult to honor people that we don't recognize their names, we don't know who they may have been, but we can get to that a little bit later in this service. Some of you might be familiar with the Japanese cemetery in Koma, and they have this huge 10-foot stone monument, and it was dedicated in February 1951 in honor at the time of Bishop Ryotai Matsukage. And altogether 10 bishops have passed away. And when you go there, probably some of you have gone there, it would probably be a nice temple field trip to go there with our group and to have a service there. I've gone there with other groups of ministers when we've had our summer study sessions and things like that at the Jodo Shinshu Center, and we'll carpool over there to Koma. Koma is very interesting because they always say there's a number of cemeteries, the Chinese cemetery and the Italian cemetery, and one after another. And they say there are more people dead in Koma than there are alive. And so it's kind of funny, but it's probably true when you see all those headstones, all those cemeteries. When we've had our groups go there, a number of bishops, not bishops, but the ministers who go when we have our service and we set up our little obutsudan and light the incense, and we're all saying the Nembutsu, and not just our group, but all these names listed, the bishops, they have 2 columns of the ministers who have served and passed away. And so you really feel their presence. It just seems so much deeper and heavier when you begin to chant, and it's like you feel their presence, and the importance of those words really seem to hit you at that time. And Charmin has a very nice story. She was taking classes, the MAP sessions, Minister Assistant Program sessions, and in her group was Candace Shibata, now Reverend Candace Shibata. And so she was beginning her studies of Buddhism. And so she was in the same group with a number of maybe 20 people, and Charmin was in that group. And they had their field trip to Koma, to the same cemetery, and Charmin shared this story with me and a few others, and whenever they had a service, the students would be assigned, it's your turn to do the Dharma message for this service. Okay, and so they take turns, and most of them are at the Jodo Shinshu Center at the Kodo over there upstairs. And so on this occasion, it was Candace's turn. So she's getting ready, and you get a little nervous, right? I still get nervous a little bit. And when you prepare, there's a separate class from this story, but there's one story from a Christian minister. He's done this for years and years and years, and he said, I still get nervous when it's time to give my talk. I get butterflies in my stomach, but now they all fly in formation. So I always thought that was really good. So on this occasion, Candace is getting ready for her talk, and so she's just focused on her talk and looking at her notes, and didn't want to mess up, and reminding herself of the key points to her talk. And at the same time, everyone's looking around and getting ready and seeing where they were. And Charmin points out to Candace here, there's your grandfather's name. And all of a sudden it hits her. And so tears start coming, and finally, uncontrollably, she's just crying, crying. And Charmin's giving her Kleenex, and we're all the more closer to Candace's family history. Her grandfather was the first minister at the Idaho, Oregon Buddhist temple, where Charmin's family grew up, and where we met each other, and my first assignment there. And we all know the story of the Shibata family. They had 10 kids, living in this one-bedroom home or whatever it was that they were provided up there. And so we, very close to that story of Charmin and myself. And so this all hits Candace at that time, at the most inopportune time when she's getting ready for her message, to give her message, So she's just crying tears, and it's the presence of those names in that stone. It's really, really something, when you think about who they were and how we have been impacted. When we go there, we might each be drawn to different specific names, right? Yeah. So during my lifetime, there's only 3 of those bishops who have served, since I've been alive, and only 2. Number 9 was Bishop Shinsho Hanayama, and when my father was assigned to the headquarters, there was a time early on when I came with my dad, so he introduced me. He took me to the bishop's office. This is Bishop Hanayama Sensei, and I was like 10, right? I just knew he was a big shot, somebody important, so I just stood there quietly and probably didn't even shake hands. He probably just looked at me, but I just remember him having this kindness in his eyes, and nothing more. I didn't say anything. I was just frozen little boy, right? And the number 10 was Bishop Tsuji, Kenju Tsuji, and many of us know Tsuji Sensei, and he's the first English-speaking Nisei bishop. And so much more comfortable to be around him and our family and his family, the Masuyama families, because we were fairly close proximity, or I don't know why, maybe because my father was in San Leandro and at the headquarters, we kind of went to different family homes during the Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's time, and so we would see them often and always remember those occasions when I still see their children close to my age. So Tsuji Sensei was probably the closest bishop of those that we are honoring today. But we recognize all of their lives. Maybe I could share all of their names. Maybe some of you might recognize Reverend Shuye Sonoda, Reverend Tetsuei Mizuki, Reverend Kentoku Hori, Reverend Koyu Uchida, Reverend Hosho Sasaki, Reverend Kenju Masuyama, Reverend Ryotai Matsukage, Reverend Enryo Shigefuji, Reverend Shinsho Hanayama, Reverend Kenju Tsuji. So these are the 10 bishops who we are acknowledging and honoring today. Okay, so just to think of them, we are reminded to keep the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha in mind whenever we do anything, in each of our efforts. And this is kind of our own practice. When we do so, we recognize our limitations as people and human beings, and where we are now, and our possibilities to awaken, to become a Buddha ourselves. And these two may be far away, but these two, we see them both simultaneously. This is kind of our practice to be here. We notice our limitations, we notice our potentialities, and it's kind of like an intersection, and at that intersection we make all our life choices. And as Shin Buddhists, this is kind of our practice, right? So There's a couple of poems I was looking at. One is by EQ, and it says, if you just eat, work, and sleep, there's nothing left but to die. And another parallel poem, young maidens blossom as brides, grow old as wives, and end up shriveled old women. Right? And in these two poems, they're just pointing out to us that there's more to make a meaningful life, something, a worthwhile life, more than just eating, working, getting old and dying. Okay? And what is that? What is that? In Reverend Fujimura's book, he wrote of the story of 3 laborers, and probably we might have heard this story. And these 3 laborers, they're working on a project, and they're asked, one different laborers, what are you doing? And one says, can't you see, I'm cutting this wood. And he's only focused on what he's doing at that moment, just on what the act at hand is what he's doing. I'm cutting this wood. Another person, what are you doing? I'm cutting this wood to earn some money. With that money, I can feed my family and take care of my home life. So he's thinking in terms of the reward that he receives as he's doing this work. So a third person, what are you doing? We're all doing this project together. We're trying to help to build this temple. Okay? And he has more of a vision of the purpose and the significance of his efforts, awareness of what is being done, overall picture of things. And so each of these have kind of a different degree of what they're seeing is going on in their life and what they're connected with. And through that, I was reminded of a story when I was just starting at IBS, Institute of Buddhist Studies, and we would take turns cooking meals and eating together, and Kusada Sensei was there as the director, and he's lived in the back, so he was there pretty much all the time. And during one of these meals, he said, we must eat to keep our strength so that we can continue to share the Dharma. Right? And at that time, I thought, who thinks like that? Right? That's the farthest thing from my mind. I just wanted this meal, this dinner. I'm not thinking about sharing the Dharma with other people and providing these opportunities to learn. And that stayed with me, that he said those words, not just for years, but for decades. What a powerful thing. Who thinks like that? He thought like that, right? And I couldn't imagine. It's the furthest thing from my mind. So again, when I think of those words, you could see that intersection of our limitations of how we are thinking, how far we are thinking, and our potentiality to consider that the Dharma, the 3 treasures, to touch more than ourselves, to touch other people, right? And so, again, in his words, just as one sentence stay with me for decades and decades. This is kind of our practice, right? So now when I try to explain, lots of times we come here for memorial services and I try to expand that perspective. We have these opportunities, but through these memorials, we are connected to the family, but through them to more, right? To the family, to this group, to society, ultimately to this greater reality, the infinite, that we're calling Amida. Namo Amida Butsu means our connection to this infinite, okay? And I think this is our spiritual path. We are where we look to connect to something greater than ourselves, okay? And so this is what we are looking for. This is why we are spiritual beings coming here to services and things like this. So in this particular service, we have so many memorial services here at the temple, right? We come and only a couple of them are Hanamatsuri Kotane, our birthdays for Shakyamuni and Shinran Shonin, and Pretty much all of the others are different memorial services for our founder, for Shakyamuni, or this person, that person, and it's hard to remember. Oh, wait, which service is that? Is it the one when we eat hot dogs afterwards, or is that the bento service? And we have to remember which service was that, and when we come to the Socho keys, which one is that? Who are these people? And then all the more, we don't recognize the majority of the names, never met them, and so it becomes difficult to relate to, in a sense. But as we come here, we hear the Dharma message, we chant with each other, we see who our own group is here. Hi, good morning, and we greet each other and we welcome each other, and then we are connected again. The chanting makes us connected again, okay? And so we kind of come to this connection with the infinite. We enter into this space where we hear these voices of the past, the voices that guide us to see our limitations and our potentials, where we make our life choices. And this process occurs here, and it's not only focused on the intellectual understanding, but as we connect to each other, it's more like here. We connect to each other through the chanting. We connect to each other through the Nembutsu. We connect to each other. This is a process that's ongoing every time we come to the temple, and not necessarily all fitting to piece into proper place in our minds, but it's fitting completely in our hearts, in our beings. This is why we are attracted to come here. And so we are able to see today that we are impacted by all these past bishops, whether we recognize their names or not, whether we have remembered their faces, we have met them or not. They touched this temple. 100 years this temple's been here. They touched my temple. They touched our families. And all of these, through all of this, they touched me. They touched my life. And they are part of the karmic conditions that allow me to meet this group, this temple, these teachings, my connection to the Nembutsu. Then again, Namo Amida Butsu practice becomes amazing. Wow. And they are a part of it. Wow. I'm here today. Touched. Wow. So this is our Shin Buddhist practice, seeing our limitations, seeing our potentials, and going through life, making all our choices. So thank you for letting me share these thoughts. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Okay, good. Thank you very much again for being here. Incense is still lit. We want to thank everyone who helped to prepare our onaiji, fresh flowers, beautiful once again, the fruit offerings and everything, the rice offerings and all that. Our tech people who set up the cameras and take care of all those aspects. We have some announcements. This is the last service for August, and I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks. So the next 2 Sundays, there are no Sunday services, as I'll be on vacation time. The first Sunday in September is part of the Labor Day weekend, so no service is scheduled for that. When we come together again on the second Sunday in September, that will be our Shotsuki service, and the Dharma School here in Alameda will begin once again. So they will meet at 9:30, and special plans will be shared with our Dharma School families. Are there any other announcements that we might have today? Okay, I think we're good. So thank you again. Let's close with Gassho, and then please come up and Oshoku. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. please come up and I'll show them.
Social fostering.